Hey Credos! I'm adopted and I'm not looking for my real parents. So let me give you a little biological background because there's almost nothing to tell. On May 18th, 1964, I was born in the Provo Hospital in Provo, Utah. A lawyer showed up when I was 2 days old, gathered me up, took me about a block and a half away to the Skaggs parking lot, and gave me to my new parents. If you're adopted too, or if you have adopted, will you comment below and tell me something about your story? I'd love to connect and hear what your connection to adoption is, if any. The only other details my parents have are that my birth mother had a child, put that child up for adoption, later married, and had multiple children, I don't know how many, and that I was born after she was divorced. It is my understanding that her ex-husband was the birth father. That sums up pretty much everything I know, and that's just what my parents were told. So I don't even know how accurate it is. I have known I was adopted for as long as I can remember. There was no big reveal, there was no withholding until I was ready, there was no incident of me finding out accidentally. I have always known that I was adopted, and I always thought it was very special. And I was made to feel that it was very special. I mean, let's be honest, I have 6 children and they're all biological children. And generally speaking, for most people, having biological children is a simpler process than adopting. With all the unknowns and all the cost and all the paperwork and all the legal issues, adopting is a very difficult process. And the fact that my parents went through all that just to have me, to raise me, I always felt that I was very special and that very wanted, not discarded. It just seemed to make sense to me. So it's never been something I've been upset about or bitter about or angry about or confused about. It just seemed to make complete sense to me. I do not pretend to speak for all adoptees. I understand everyone has a different story. So this is just my story. Whenever I would go anywhere as a kid, I stood out because I had bright fire engine red hair and the rest of my family were brunettes. And people would always approach and say, "Where did you get that red hair?" And my mother, just trying to be egalitarian and polite, would say, "Oh, we're just lucky." And I would always raise my hand and say, "I'm adopted," because I thought it was cool. I was not embarrassed about it. It was not something I ever got teased about or taunted about. Instead, people really thought it was mysterious and kind of exotic. So it was one of the few things I felt I had as a kid that made me really special. I have 2 brothers and a sister. My 2 brothers are adopted and my sister is not. I was a baby when I was adopted, as was one of my brothers. And my other brother was, I believe, 10 years old, and I'm younger than he is, 2 years younger. Older child adoption is a very, very different situation and a very different story from infant adoption. And that's really, as my professors would say, beyond the scope of this vlog. But suffice it to say that my sister was the weird one, being like a natural biological child. In my family, that was just the odd thing. So when I say I'm not looking for my real parents, and I never have looked for my real parents, it's because I know my real parents. They raised me. That's what makes a parent. I realize I have a biological family out there somewhere. And for some reason in my story, I have never really been curious about who they are or where they are or what they're doing. Maybe it's because I have always felt like I belonged, like I was loved, like I was wanted. I have always felt like I have a family and I didn't need to find another one. I don't know what all the reasons for that are, but it's just never been something that interested me that much. After my husband and I had children, I remember the first time someone said one of them looked like me or had some characteristic like me. And it really took me aback because that was not something that was part of my family. I did not look like my siblings or my parents. And so it just wasn't something that came up. And it was kind of startling to realize that I shared DNA with my children, although obvious, it was just something I didn't grow up with. So the idea that I might have biological family members who look like me or act like me or do things similar to the way I do, even though we weren't raised together, is kind of an interesting thing. But it's not something I've ever looked for. So all that said, on Mother's Day of this year, my husband gave me a DNA test kit. Now, this is not because I'm trying to connect to my biological family. As I said, I've never been interested in that. I've always been interested to know like my ethnic heritage. I had bright red hair, so I've always assumed I'm Irish. And I've always thought maybe Scottish. Either of those would be okay. But I've always said I'm Irish or Scottish. It would be very interesting to me to find out what those actual like biological markers show. So I'm filming this at the end of August of 2018. And my husband gave me the kit in May of 2018. And coincidentally, right about that same time, a friend of mine posted on Facebook, a friend who was adopted, posted on Facebook that he had done a DNA test and posted on a registry and was connected to his biological family through that test. And that actually gave me great pause in taking the test, because I don't know if I want to open that can of worms. Either way, like, what if I decide to go ahead and post it and then no one connects with me, or no one wants to connect with me? Or what if I post it and someone connects with me and I don't want to connect? I'm very ambivalent about it, so I'm not really sure how to approach that. I do understand I can get the test and not post it anywhere. So even though I've been very hesitant to do this, right after we film this tonight, my husband and I are gonna get the kits out and spit in, I don't even know how to do it, whatever you spit into or whatever, and send them off. So that is going to be a future vlog, the reveal. So we're gonna spit tonight, and then when we get the kits back, I'm gonna film us finding out our heritage. Now my husband's not adopted, and he obviously knows more of that genealogically already, but I've always kind of claimed my adoptive family's genealogy. And so to see how that might differ, I mean, I'm guessing I'm European-ish, right? But it will be very interesting to me, and I don't know how I'll react. I don't know if it'll be scary. Well, I'm already scared. I don't know if it'll be emotional, or if it'll be cool, or excited. I don't know. I don't know what the reaction will be. I'm kind of hoping that I have some ethnicity that has melanin and not just like pasty white freckles. That would be really cool, but whatever is in here is already in here, right? So watch for that one. So comment below, tell me what you think about adoption or DNA tests. Or do you think it's weird that people are adopted? Does that seem like a freaky thing to you? I think it's cool and awesome, and I am gung-ho about adoption. I love it. Please subscribe and hit that bell so you'll find out when we do the DNA reveal. See you next time, guys.